In today's video, we're going to test some banned airsoft products. Starting off the video strong, we have the first airsoft banned product, and that's going to be illegal BBs. So standard airsoft BBs you would use on the field look like this. But in today's video, we bought glass and metal BBs as well to test out. Obviously, you cannot in any way use these on the field at any field in the entire world, or else I'd be insane, because they are very dangerous versus normal BBs. Let's go ahead now and run some tests and show you guys what I'm talking about.
Surprisingly, the best thing to show the difference of damage between these types of airsoft BBs is blocks of spam. And for this test, we're going to be using my $1,000 fully custom sniper rifle that shoots over 550 FPS and 3 joules.
Yeet. Ugh. It's nasty.
First up, we'll test a normal BB and see if it gets through a block of spam.
Oh, I think it went through. Yep, it went all the way through. All right, so I guess one BB goes through one thing of spam. We'll add a second one right now. I think this is gonna get quite a lot harder for this airsoft sniper. We'll see how it goes. All right, normal BBs versus 2 blocks of spam. Here we go. Never thought I'd say those words in my life. Oh, it barely made it through this one and then it stopped at the other one. Okay, interesting.
Now let's test the middle ones.
Ooh. Interesting. The metal one actually went through both of them. As you can see, there's a hole in the actual second one. It didn't actually make an impact with the back, so it didn't go out, but it certainly did go through right there at the front of the second one. Glass BB. Let's see how this goes. Aim for the top left. Ooh, that was a good one. Oh, it did go through actually the first one, and it did make an impact actually on the second spam block right there, as you could see. So now let's actually go ahead and open this guy up and see how far they actually got into the second spam block. I don't see him yet. Oh, there's the metal BB right there, and there is the glass BB right there. So I guess the metal one is better at penetrating a block of spam, aka more dangerous. So it looks like the glass BB only made it within maybe like a ½ an inch into the actual spam, and then it looks like the metal BB maybe made it like an inch or an inch and a half into the spam. So metal BBs, I guess, have more penetration, aka more dangerous.
And next thing in the video is going to be binary triggers. Now that they're very popular among new airsoft guns for the electronics to be able to just pull some switches and basically make the airsoft gun go into binary mode, they're pretty much banned at all fields.
How binary triggers work is every time when you pull the trigger, it shoots one time. And then when you also release the trigger, it shoots a second shot. So 2 shots in total for every full trigger pull. The main problem with this is if you shoot really fast, you're going to end up shooting as fast as full auto on semi-automatic, causing an issue with people shooting way too fast on the field.
The next thing on the list is going to be illegal grenades. The two that might come up first in your head if you have played airsoft for quite a while is the Airsoft Master Mic and the 40 mic.
Normal airsoft grenades shoot BBs out of little different holes at the top of the grenade, but these 2 grenades only have one hole at the top, causing a powerful funnel for all the BBs to come out of. With the 40 mic grenade, it shoots a straight line of BBs at your enemies, releasing 100 BBs in under a second. And when the Master Mic is shot, it releases a crazy powerful spread of BBs. Instead of explaining how these powerful systems work, I'll show you an example. Let's start with one of the best normal airsoft grenades and then go to the Master Mic, and I'll show you the differences. Normal airsoft grenades shoot all the gas out in one burst, whereas the illegal ones have a valve opened up to spray all the gas out throughout time, causing a more powerful stream of BBs in more dangerous ways.
And the next one up on the list for the grenades is Pyro Grenades, or any kind of grenades that pretty much explode. I've actually been to some events where these are actually allowed, and I think it literally started like 7 or 10 fires within like a couple hours. I don't know why these are even like allowed, but sometimes field owners decide to let them be used, and it never ends up well.
Yeah, toss it.
Fire on them! Fire!
Just throw dirt. There you go.
The next grenades on the list are the sound grenades that are too loud. The normal airsoft grenades, when they explode, just kind of shoot out some BBs at a low FPS, maybe 100, 200 FPS, nothing crazy, and are powered by green gas. But this specific company actually figured out a way to put like 12 gauge and 9mm blanks in the actual grenade itself, so when they explode, it's so loud. One of the fields I play at often actually used to allow these a couple years back, but now they're definitely banned. These things are absolutely insane. If you're not wearing ear protection, yeah, your hearing is done for. And some other notable ones to mention is the tag and explosion rounds as well. you got hit by this thing pretty close, yeah, that is not going to be a fun day. Next up on the list is going to be HPA builds. HPA builds transition your standard AG that's powered by a battery and mechanics in the gearbox to basically a system that is powered by a paintball tank and compressed air. So aside from the price, there's mostly only pros with this system as it makes it super simple. Only a little tiny plastic or metal nozzle is going back and forth, and it's really hard to actually break these. These are not necessarily banned at all fields, but they're very frowned upon. At the CQB fields I play at, basically they make you have a 50 to 75 FPS handicap versus standard Airsoft AEGs. The system itself actually produces so much more energy than a standard AEG that even being down like 50 FPS, you're still actually producing more of an impact. So just versus your normal skin, it'll actually do more damage even if it's shooting like 50 or 75 FPS lower than standard AEGs. So aside from all of that, the major other issues these might be banned are basically because of the ease of turning up the FPS and the RPS. With a simple little valve on the paintball tank, you could simply turn up the PSI that's actually going through the system and easily be able to turn up your FPS. And the system actually is powered by electronics, not only HPA, but it's only powered by this tiny little battery that is controlling this little computer. And with that little computer, you could easily just go to one of these tabs and basically just turn up the RPS with a little switch. It's pretty insane. So in the wrong hands, unfortunately, this has happened in the past in our industry. Basically, people that should not have these airsoft guns will basically chronograph the airsoft gun at like 20-25 RPS and at like 350 FPS, everything good for the airsoft field. And then later on, before the game actually starts, they'll go ahead and turn up the FPS and RPS on their systems, making it very unfair for other players. Damn, this thing just sounds terrifying. So it's not necessarily that these systems should be banned, it's just that they're so easy to change and manipulate the FPS and RPS and other stuff like that. It just makes it so easy for it to get into the wrong hands, and you definitely don't want that. As you can see in these clips right here, with these HPA builds, if they're in the wrong hands, they could definitely do some damage. And the last thing with HPA builds is just simply how fast you can actually pull the trigger. This has become such a big problem in modern times with at least fields near me that they're actually restricting how fast you could shoot on semi-automatic. The next one up on the list is going to be DSG builds or dual sector gear builds. If these are built right, they basically make your airsoft gun shoot twice as fast or even more. These aren't actually banned at every field as well like the HPA ones, but they're kind of like the HPA builds where they're very restricted. So they're not really restricted in the FPS category, but definitely in the RPS category. Your standard DSG build will maybe make the RPS about 35 or 40 RPS, but I've seen some builds where people get them up to 50, 60, or even 70 rounds per second.
Now let's go ahead and test one out.
Shot so fast the mag vibrated out, damn.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
Oh man. Bro, I think I just ripped my piston or like maybe one of the gears. Let's try on semi-automatic and see what happens. Oh, yep. You guys hear that? Just like the motor spinning or the gears spinning. Yikes. Just completely destroyed a $1,000 build. All for the video.
Well, I guess we'll go on to another clip.
It's like, has like...
And obviously that is definitely not going to be safe at an airsoft field. These things are absolutely insane. I've only actually played in a few private games where everyone had unrestricted access to HPA and DSG builds for the RPS and FPS, and let me tell you, it was chaos. So aside from the crazy rounds per second these builds are able to produce, just like the HPA builds, they have a crazy semi-automatic response as well. If you build a proper one of these, you could basically shoot it just as fast as a HPA airsoft gun. For an example, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this viral clip from OC Airsoft when he was actually shooting on semi-automatic with a DSG build, and someone thought he was using full auto, and of course he wasn't. It was just because of the semi-automatic being so dang fast.
I'm not full auto. It's not full auto.
That's not full auto?
This is. That's full auto.
Damn, bro. Okay.
Knowing OC Airsoft, there are some amazing techs. I'm pretty sure their build right here was probably shooting like 50 or 60 rounds per second. So they're not necessarily banned at all fields because of this, like the HPA builds, but they're definitely frowned upon, and refs are definitely going to be eyeing you way more if you have one of these builds.
Can you do me one favor?
Yeah.
Could you switch your gun to full auto and shoot that wall for me really quick?
Full auto?
Yeah, full auto. Okay. That's what I was confirming.
Yeah.
Next up on the list is Unsafe Eye Protection. You think this one would be super easy to avoid, but surprisingly, a lot of the airsoft masks that you see online are surprisingly cheaper than you would think. The first one up is actually surprisingly not banned at all fields. It's basically like these tiny little mesh masks made of metal. So if you're not careful and don't get a good quality one, these will actually only last a few shots before the BBs will go straight through. But of course, if you do get a good high quality one, the BBs won't go straight through, but it'll have a different problem. And that's actually two problems. The first one is basically if it has some paint on the actual metal mesh, when the BBs actually impact the metal mesh, it'll take off the paint on the outer layer and basically get paint in your eyes. And the other issue, which is probably way more of an issue, is basically when you shoot it with plastic BBs, sometimes when they hit the metal mesh at the right spot, it'll actually break the BB apart into plastic shards, and those will go straight into your eyes, which is not ideal. And the next one up is going to be just like a standard cheap airsoft mask. So if you're not getting the proper rated airsoft mask, these guys are definitely not safe. For these cheap masks, they have a couple different issues. It's about like 3 different issues if you sum it up. Basically, the first one is sometimes the lens are strong, but not where they're actually held in. So if you shoot them enough, the lens itself won't crack and break, but the actual area where the actual lens is held in will actually snap and break off. So therefore, you won't even have a lens left over. The other issue, obviously, is the lens itself being super low quality and basically just like cracking or breaking with a couple shots. And the last one I don't think people really think about as much is actually the lower part of the mask that's made from super cheap plastic. It might survive a few shots or have specific spots that are stronger than others, but overall, if you shoot this like lower part of the mask from this cheap plastic, the BBs will totally just go straight through, or it'll slowly just crack and break, leaving your teeth fully exposed. Bruh. If you get your tooth shot out, it's not a good day. Your teeth are very expensive, surprisingly. And the next product in today's video is black gas. I actually have never personally tested, but I'm very excited to for today's video. So standard airsoft green gas is actually rated at 130 PSI. Black gas is a way higher rated than that. Basically why this should be an issue, it's kind of the same as the HPA system. Someone would take their airsoft gasoline pistol or rifle, go to the chronograph using green gas, and then right before the game starts, so go ahead and empty all of their green gas powered mags and then fill up the black gas. And that would definitely increase the FPS over the chrono limits, making the airsoft gun illegal. And in today's video, I buy a whole bunch of different gases to actually test out and show you guys this concept. So let's go ahead and test it out and see the differences.
First, the 110 PSI one. Let's see how this is. Let's do 4 shots per mag and then we'll read the last shot. Looks like the last one was 383 and 1.36 joules. All right, 130 PSI, green gas. Let's see how this goes. Whoa, 700, that's definitely not right. All right, that reading is 406.2 FPS with 1.53 joules. Wow, okay, decent increase right there. All right, now for the 150 PSI heavy gas, let's see how this goes. Wow, a big increase yet again, 423.3 FPS with 1.67 joules. Last but not least, the black gas. Let's see how this goes. Whoa, that feels like way bigger kick. Damn. Whoa, that shoots way harder. Whoa, that's crazy. 481.8 FPS with 2.16 joules. That's actually kind of insane, damn.
Now let's go ahead and test green gas and black gas with a gas blowback pistol.
All right, third shot was 304.5. FPS was 0.86 joules. Now let's empty out the magazine of green gas and put some black gas in. Damn, the kickback is crazy too. Damn, it feels super crispy. Whew. All right, the third shot was 349 FPS with 1.13 joules. The kickback is pretty satisfying as well with the black gas. You can see it move my hands quite a bit.
Second to last on the list is going to be illegal flashlights or lasers. On the market, there's so many overpowered flashlights that have like 1,000 lumens or 2,000 lumens, just something insane that you definitely do not need for an airsoft game. And usually these flashlights have a strobe setting on it. There is a reason why Special Forces, FBI, and SWAT use this function when they're clearing houses. I don't know if you guys have ever played in an indoor field where it's super dark and someone just using a strobe function, you look at that for more than a couple seconds, you're definitely going to be absolutely blinded. It's definitely a very cool tool to distort or distract your enemies on the airsoft field, but nowadays with all the airsoft flashlights being so overpowered, there is a good reason these are all banned at your public games, because after a while, if we keep using these, we're not going to all be able to see anything. Now let's go ahead and talk about illegal lasers. Sometimes fields will allow just red lasers and not green lasers, just because red lasers are a little bit more sensitive on your eyes and don't do as much damage. But even if the field does allow you to actually use green lasers, you're definitely not allowed to point them at anyone's eyes. Lasers are super cool in the airsoft field that makes you able to do like hip firing or not even look through your sights and have a good target acquisition on your enemy players. But if you aim it in someone's eyes for too long, you could definitely do some damage. So it definitely makes sense why these are banned at most CQB fields. Last, but certainly not least on this list is going to be banned or illegal triggers. At some point or another, these were actually all fully legal at your local airsoft field, but nowadays they're pretty much all banned. There's going to be 3 different triggers I'm going to be talking about in this section, and the first one up is going to be hair triggers or like trigger modifications. People with super nice HPA builds or even highly tuned AEG builds will have the ability to do this. So the idea behind this one is people will basically modify their trigger placement so that the trigger will sit just before the trigger hits the micro switch or the sensors. That's why it's called a hair trigger, because the trigger pull is like the length of a hair, basically nothing. But unfortunately, in the wrong hands of people that don't know how to use their safety properly, people will be walking around the field with their gun in semi-automatic and they'll accidentally literally just place their finger on the trigger, not even pulling the trigger, but just place it on the trigger, and that's enough weight for the trigger to actually go off. Therefore, you might accidentally shoot one of your friends. But nowadays, there is something called adjustable speed triggers, and that moves us on to the second trigger of this section. These type of triggers, all you have to do is actually adjust this little set screw that already comes installed on these speed triggers so that your trigger is basically sitting right before it hits the micro switch or the sensors. And the last trigger in today's video that's definitely by far the most banned and illegal that I've seen. I don't even know the proper name for this, but I'll just call it the paintball trigger. There's a few different types of these that are actually for sale in the market. Some of them are just basically like an extended huge trigger that's just called a blade trigger. And then there's also the scythe trigger, which is the one I got that kind of looks like a little snake. And basically that one is supposed to resemble the same ones that are used in like competition like speedball paintball markers. And why are they illegal, you might ask? Well, you could basically do something called trigger walking. Trigger walking is basically using both your fingers instead of one, and you basically just simultaneously rotate the trigger you're using so that you can basically shoot twice as fast. And of course, I installed the scythe trigger on one of my HPA builds that closely resembles a paintball marker. So let's go ahead and test it out and see how fast I can really shoot with it.
Kind of harder than you would think actually to shoot it like that, but yeah, if you get it right, dude, you're shooting fast. Damn.
I hope you guys did enjoy this one. If you want to stay updated on more videos I post, there is a subscribe button right there. There is a personally recommended YouTube video right there that YouTube thinks you should watch. I'm sure you're going to enjoy that one too. Without further ado, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one.